Hare Krishna. Woo, we're really loud today. Welcome everybody to morning daily Srimad Bhagavatam class. Thank you. Today we're reading from Canto 4, Chapter 7. We'll read verses 13 through 25, and then we'll focus on verse 24. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavallabha Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Kalasanji Radha Kalasanji Sri Radhe Kalasanji Sri Radhe Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Shri Radhamadava Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Narayanam Namaskritya. Oops, let's start with Om Namo Bhagavate. My bad. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The next two verses we'll sing together, both Sanskrit and purport, or the translation, please. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devyam Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to under Sri Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta praya shabreshu nityam bhagavata sevayam bhagavati utama sloke bhaktir bhavati naistaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyan Timarandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshuramitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened up my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto them. Okay, so if we can turn to Canto 4, Chapter 7. We'll go through verses 13 through 25. What just happened? Lord Shiva came and, well, him and his what's the animal, or not the animal, but the devotee of Lord Shiva, the black monster that came and Virabhadra. There you go. Thank you very much. Has just come and destroyed the sacrifice, and Lord Brahma's come and pacified Lord Shiva, and now we have Lord Shiva speaking, right? Let's go to 13. Can you move it down to 13? We're getting the mic. Thank you, Drista. Excuse me. Lord Daksha, or King Daksha speaking. Go ahead, we can do one verse per person.
King Daksha said, "My dear Lord Shiva, I have committed a great offense against you. But you are so kind that instead of withdrawing your mercy, you have done me a great favor by punishing me. You and Lord Vishnu never neglect even useless, unqualified brahmanas. Why then should you neglect me, who am engaged in performing sacrifices?"
My dear great and powerful Lord Shiva, you were created first from the mouth of Lord Brahma in order to protect the brahmanas in pursuing education, austerities, vows, and self-realization. As protector of the brahmanas, you always protect the regulated principles they follow, just as a cowherd boy keeps a stick in his hand to give protection to the cows.
I did not know your full glories. For this reason, I threw arrows of sharp words at you in the open assembly. Although you did not take them into account, I was going down to hell because of my disobedience to you. Were you the most respectful personality, but you took compassion upon me and saved me by awarding punishment. I request that you be pleased by your own mercy, since I could not satisfy you by my words.
The great sage Maitreya said, thus being pardoned by Lord Shiva, King Daksha, with the permission of Lord Brahma, again began the performance of the yajna, along with the great learned sages, the priests, and others.
Thereafter, in order to resume the activities of sacrifice, the brahmanas first arranged to purify the sacrificial arena of the contamination caused by the touch of Veerbhadra and the other ghostly followers of Lord Shiva. Then they arranged to offer into the fire the oblations known as Purotas.
The great sage Maitreya said to Vidura, "My dear Vidura, as soon as King Daksha offered the clarified butter with Yajurveda mantras and sanctified meditation, Lord Vishnu appeared there in his original form as Narayan."
Lord Narayan was seated on the shoulder of Stutra or Garuda, who has big wings. As soon as the Lord appeared, all directions were illuminated, diminishing the luster of Brahma and the other presents.
His complexion was blackish, his garment yellow like gold, and his helmet as dazzling as the sun. His hair was bluish, the color of black bees, and his face was decorated with earrings. His 8 hands held a conch shell, wheel, club, lotus flower, arrow, bow, shield, and sword, and they were decorated with golden ornaments such as bangles and bracelets. His whole body resembled a blossoming tree, beautifully decorated with various kinds of flowers.
Lord Vishnu looked extraordinarily beautiful because the goddess of fortune and a garland were situated on his chest. His face was beautifully decorated with a smiling attitude which can captivate the entire world, especially the devotees. Fans of white hair appeared on both sides of the Lord like white shawls, and the white canopy overhead looked like the moon. As soon as Lord Vishnu was visible, all the demigods, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, the Gandharvas, and all present there immediately offered their respectful obeisances by falling down straight before him.
In the presence of the glaring effulgence of the bodily lustre of Narayana, everyone else's lustre faded away, and everyone stopped speaking. Fearful with awe and veneration, all present touched their hands on their heads and prepared to offer their prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Adokshaja.
Although the mental scope of even demigods like Brahma was unable to comprehend the unlimited glories of the Supreme Lord, they were all able to perceive the transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by His grace. Only by such grace could they offer their respectful prayers according to their different capacities.
When Lord Vishnu accepted the oblations offered in the sacrifice, Daksha, the Prajapati, began with great pleasure to offer respectful prayers unto him.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually the master of all sacrifices and preceptor of all the Prajapatis, and he is served even by such personalities as Nanda and Sunanda.
24. Go back to 24. Go to Sanskrit. So we got a do-over, right? Daksha said, my bad. Penalty, 15-year-old penalty, redo the play. Okay. Apyarvagvrito yasya. Apyarvagvrityao yasya. Mahitva atma bhuv adyaya. Mahitva atma bhuv adyaya. Yatyamati grananti sma. Yatamati grananti sma. Kritanagraha vigraham. Kritanugraha vigraham. Bolo, please. Apyarvagvrito yasya. Mahitva atma bhuvadya. Yatamati grananti sma. Kritananugraha vigraham. Apyarvagvrito yasya. Matitva atma bhuvadya. Yatamati grananti sma. Kritanyugraha vigraham. Apyarvagvrito yasya. Mahitva atma bhuvadya. Yatmati granati sma. Kritanyugraha vigraham. Do word for word together, please. Api, skill. Aravakrityaha, beyond the mental activities. Yasya, whose. Mahi, glory. To, but. Atmabhu adyaha, Brahma, etc. Yatyamati, according to their capacities. Granati sma, offered prayers. Krita anagraha, manifested by his grace. Vigraham, transcendental form. Translation and purport by his divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Although the mental scope of even demigods like Brahma was unable to comprehend the unlimited glories of the Supreme Lord, they were all able to perceive the transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his grace. Only by such grace could they offer the respectful prayers according to their different capacities. Purport. The Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, is always unlimited, and his glories cannot be completely enumerated by anyone, even by the personalities like Lord Brahma. It is said that Ananta, a direct incarnation of Lord, has unlimited mouths. And with each mouth, he has been trying to describe the glories of the Lord for an unlimited span of time. Yet the glories of the Lord remain unlimited, and he therefore never finishes. It is not possible for any ordinary living entity to understand or to glorify the unlimited personality of Godhead, but one can offer prayers or service to the Lord according to one's particular capacity. This capacity is increased by the service spirit. Savano mukhe hi jiva vendo means that the service of the Lord begins with the tongue. This refers to chanting. By chanting Hare Krishna, one begins the service of the Lord. Another function of the tongue is to taste and accept the Lord's prasad. We have to begin our service to the unlimited with the tongue and become perfect in chanting and accepting the Lord's prasad. To accept the Lord's prasad means to control the entire set of senses. The tongue is considered to be the most uncontrollable sense because it hankers for so many unwholesome edibles, thereby forcing the living entity into the dungeon of material conditioned life. As the living entity transmigrates from one form of life to another, he has to eat so many abdominal foodstuffs that finally there is no limit. Ooh. The tongue should be engaged in chanting and eating the Lord's prasad so that other senses will be controlled. Chanting is the medicine and prasad is the diet. With these processes, one can begin his service. And as the service increases, the Lord reveals more and more to the devotee. But there's no limit to his glories, and there's no limit to engaging oneself in the service of the Lord. Drissa, will you turn to Nectar of Instruction, verse 1? So we're speaking about the tongue, and Srila Prabhupada in this purport has given us two things to focus on, right? Chanting, vibrating with the tongue, and then taking prasad, or tasting the Lord's mercy through his food stuff. So we have this book here, the Nectar of Instruction. Nectar of Instruction is 11 verses given to us by Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Prabhupada says in the preface that in these 11 instructions one can come from the neophyte stage to the pure stage of devotional service. 11 instructions. You could read this book in about 3 to 5 minutes with the verses that Srila Rupa Goswami has given us. With Srila Prabhupada's purports, it'll take a little bit longer. But this Nectar of Instruction is quite wonderful. I grew up playing sports all my life. And when you're young and you're playing sports, there's always the best athlete is the kid that's a little bit bigger, a little bit faster. He's always the star, or they're always the star athlete. But as you get older, into middle school and high school, the other kids start to become bigger also, and as fast, and as strong. And so that gap kind of slims down, right? Well, once you become a professional in your sport, then everybody is big, fast, strong, quick, all of these. So when you're at a professional level, then it's very important that your foundation or your fundamentals are very strong. Why? Because if your fundamentals aren't very strong, the other pro athletes that are just as big, fast, strong will take advantage of you. They'll see that you're doing this, so if you're hitting baseballs, your back shoulders dropping, and they might throw you a curveball or throw you a changeup. And anyways, the point is they'll take advantage of it. So when the coach sees that the athlete is struggling, what they'll do is they'll come back and they'll take video and they'll say, let's find out what's wrong with your fundamentals. And they'll look through the video and they'll find some small thing that the athlete learned when they were probably 6, 7, 8. But just over time, they got thrown off. Nectar of Instruction is our fundamentals. When you're as a devotee, when you're struggling, you can come back to the Nectar of Instruction and it will right you very quickly. You're having trouble with this or that, take shelter of Rupa Goswami and he'll straighten you up. He'll recalibrate you, you could say. And so in this verse, interesting enough, in this Nectar of Instruction, we're speaking about the tongue, right? About vibrating and about tasting prasad. So the first verse heavily speaks about this. But not only that, you can see in the first 6, maybe even 7, you could say, out of the 8 verses in Nectar of Instruction, has to do some way, shape, or form with the tongue in it. It's pretty interesting, right? So I was thinking we could come to verse 1 and maybe we can chant this together. This verse. Ready? Vacho vegam manasa kroda vegam jiva vegam udrapasta vegam itan vegam yovashita dira sarvamapi mam pravitsasat. Translation together, please. A sober person Who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demand, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genital is qualified to make disciples all over the world. Make disciples all over the world. You'd say that this escalated quickly, right? The first instructions Srila Rupa Goswami gives us, he says, oh, you can go control these and you can make disciples all over the world. Going from 0 to 100 pretty dang quick, right? And you can see in this that he mentions the tongue two times. First is the urge to speak, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals. Srila Prabhupada explains that, or the Acharyas explain, that the tongue, belly, and genitals are aligned in one. If you take care of the tongue, then automatically things align. So speaking about the tongue, Srila Prabhupada has given us quite a bit in this purport about the tongue. He says first one must control his speaking power, right? So Srila Prabhupada in the purport gives the example of the croaking frog. Who knows the example of the croaking frog? Not Dr. Frog, the croaking of the frog. Srila Prabhupada gives the example of the speaking power. What is it, Mother Kunti? Yes. So the frog is croaking loudly at night or in the morning, right? And all he's doing is inviting the snake to come and eat him. So Srila Prabhupada explains that the speaking about nonsense, whimsical things, is the same as croaking frog, that we're just inviting death to come eat us. So Srila Prabhupada goes on to explain that the self-imposed silence isn't for the devotee. I was speaking to this gentleman in Houston, and he was telling me that he just came back from a retreat where for the whole weekend, 3 or 4 days, they didn't speak at all. And he was telling me how wonderful it was. And I was like, well, what did it do for you? What practically did it for you? I mean, when you came back to the material world, you had to talk, he went to the higher planets or something like that. I said, when you came back to work and stuff, you had to talk. And he said, I could see it bewildered him. He didn't, I was like, well, so what did it do for you? And he said, well, it's like a reset. And I was like, okay. I tried to ask him what that meant to him, but he really didn't understand. So Srila Prabhupada explains that the devotee isn't into silence, self-imposed silence. Instead, silence means to only speak on transcendental topics. So the devotee is no longer speaking on mundane subjects. So what are the two things that the devotee is always speaking about? Well, you could say more than two, but let's name two. The devotees always speaking on? Krishna Katha, right? They're always speaking about Krishna and his unlimited pastimes. And what else are we using this tongue for, to always chant? The names of the Lord, right? Chanting Hare Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada explains in this point that the frog is inviting death, and that the devotee is speaking on, always speaking about Krishna, that the preacher of Krishna Katha is always beyond the clutches of death. Srila Prabhupada goes on to explain that so many people are spending time writing useless books, he says. What does he say? He says, many people are talking nonsensically and writing volumes of useless books. And all this is a result of the urge to speak. But Srila Prabhupada explains, to counteract this tendency, we have diverted our talking to Srimad Bhagavatam, or to devotional service of the Lord. So the Srimad Bhagavatam we read each morning, right? That by daily the reading of this Srimad Bhagavatam, our heart is almost completely cleansed, right? You can actually see this practically. We come and we speak on this Bhagavatam, and we can see a whole community right here of people that are so gladdened and enlivened by Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srila Prabhupada concludes the tongue. He says in the purport of Nectar of Instruction that the conclusion is that only when we talk about devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead can we refrain from useless, nonsensical talk. We should always endeavor to use our speaking power solely for the purpose of realizing Krishna consciousness. So my question is, for you guys, how does this look practically? You film, right? And your director says, Ariel, what do you think about this shot? And you say, I'm sorry, director, I can only talk about Krishna. Is that very practical? No. So what does it look like practically to the devotee? How is the devotee speaking about Krishna Katha and always speaking using his tongue or speaking power for Krishna? Prema.
The devotee is seeing everything in relation to Krishna and using all material assets in service of Krishna.
So the devotee sees their service as non-different than Krishna, right? So we can be very gladdened by the services we have and talk about them all day if we see them as service to Krishna, right? Yes?
Not gossiping about others because a devotee sees everyone as part and parcel of Krishna.
Very nice. Any other examples of how this looks practically? Yes. So the devotees, matter of fact, this is in the 7th verse, where I think it's the 7th verse in Nectar of Instruction, where it says that the pure devotee, in his heart, there's no need to criticize others. It's not even in his heart. It doesn't come out of his tongue. It's not even his heart, right? So the devotee is always speaking of Krishna by speaking Krishna Katha and their service. So where did Drista go? Can you move down here? Keep going. We're going to go to a prayer about prasadam. Keep going. Keep on going. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Thank you for your patience. Right here, right here, right here, right here. Oh, go down. Oh, never mind. Keep going. I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. Back to the tongue. Oh, genitals. Oh, sorry. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We're going to sing the prasadam prayer right here. Okay. So here's a prayer given to us. And you're going to have to go down a little bit because it's two-part, right? So let's sing here. Sarvera Dijadra Jodindre Taika Jive Fale Vishasangare Taramadai Jivayati Lobamosa Dormati Takate Takatan Samsare Krishna Boya Doya Moy Korabaya Jiva Joy Swaprasana Namati Lobai Sayanamrita Kao Radha Krishna Gunaga Prem Ritako Chaitanya Nitai. Okay, let's see what the translation says about the tongue and prasad. Oh Lord, let's sing this together. Oh Lord, this material body is a lump of ignorance, and the senses are a network of paths leading to death. Somehow or other, you have fallen into the ocean of material sense enjoyment, and all the senses have the tongue as most voracious and uncontrollable. It is very difficult to conquer the tongue in this world, but you, dear Krishna, are very kind to us. You have sent us nice prasad to help us conquer the tongue. Therefore, let us take this prasad to our full satisfaction and glorify your Lordship, Shri Shri Radha and Krishna, in love for Lord Chaitanya and Prabhu Nityananda. So, at 8:30, we'll go walk into this room right here, and you can think about how to control the tongue by taking great joy in eating prasadam. So I encourage you to read this nectar of instruction and go through it fairly often. Like I said in the beginning, this can help us to recalibrate or refocus our foundation in Krishna consciousness. So we're at 8:13. I'm a little bit early, but we can start questions, comments, or thoughts. Anybody? Yes.
Although the mental scope of even demigods like Brahma was unable to comprehend the unlimited glories of the Supreme Lord, they were all able to perceive the transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by His grace. Only by such grace could they offer the respectful prayers according to their different capacities. Sometimes we feel like we're not really getting that grace. We feel that due to our offenses, due to our shortcomings, our limited birth situation, we may be missing that grace. But, so what do we do when we find ourselves in that situation that, we're just, we're wretched and and now what?
This is very interesting, right? In the beginning of each Bhagavatam class, or we have these prayers that say, almost completely destroyed, right? And we understand that it's almost completely destroyed these anarthas in our heart. But by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, we can't just read Srimad Bhagavatam and everything's completely fine, right? We need Krishna's mercy, right? So there's some times where we feel like, Krishna, what's going on? I'm doing all the right things, right? And I'm coming to Srimad Bhagavatam, I'm chanting my 16 rounds, I'm following the 4 regular principles, and I'm not feeling your mercy. I heard this wonderful thing by Premamrita at a bhakti circle, and it was explained that the keys on the piano or the harmonium are all the same keys, just different octaves, right? Higher or lower. So when we go up on the octaves, that we'll still be playing. I'm not so musically inclined. I really appreciate this example, but so forgive me if I'm not like exactly like here. But we could be playing a C, right? And we play a higher C, right? And they're same Cs. So similarly, in Krishna consciousness, we will go up and we'll encounter the same C or the same things. We'll come through the same troubles that we've gone through before, but they're usually more intense, to be honest with you. And this is because we're no longer on the lower side, we're on a higher set of keys. And so we do need the purification. We do need to go through the experience of Krishna consciousness. We need the realized knowledge. And that often takes experiences, right? So Krishna arranges some kind of situation where we're having a tough time. And us as devotees, we just keep taking the process. We keep taking to the process. And usually what we'll find is that at the end of it, there'll be some special gift that Krishna will give us. Some special realization, some special feeling of closer to Krishna. So we really just need to keep trying to do the best we can in the process. Yes, Maji.
Is it like instead of thinking less of yourself, think of yourself less? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's not about, it's yes and no. Yes, in that we're thinking about Krishna, but we can also be begging Krishna for our help, right? But we're not doing it on the bodily platform. We're not saying, Krishna, help me become stronger in my muscles so that I can, I don't know, my job, my boss is giving me a tough time at work and I'm not lifting enough or I'm not doing enough crates or whatever. So, no, Krishna, help purify my heart so that I can understand you and get closer to you. And through these tough times, we can see that Krishna, we let him be the hero. We get, knocked down. And through prayers, Krishna, please help me. And all of a sudden he saves us through some situation or another. And then when that happens, we trust Krishna in this process more. And with trust, the foundation of love grows. It's pretty amazing, huh?
I mean, if you think about it, Daksha was beheaded, and he got the head of a goat. So who am I to complain here?
Right.
He got the head of a goat, and he kept going.
Right. Think about Draupadi. Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
5 sons. Her sons. I mean, not her 5 sons, but her sons being. Oh my God. Can you imagine?
I was just thinking also in those times that, whenever we don't have something or we're feeling like we're not experiencing that mercy or feeling that mercy from Krishna, to try and search out the association of those advanced devotees that we feel like maybe are experiencing that mercy, and we can receive that mercy of Krishna through them as well when we're feeling like that.
Yeah, you've experienced this. Yes, no? That you're reading, you have a question, and you're reading Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, and bam, the answer to your question comes very clear. Or through speaking to the senior devotees. Sometimes you're not even trying, right? You're just talking to them and being persons, and all of a sudden they say something, you're like, oh my gosh, that's the answer to that thing I've been, it's been in my heart. Yes. Ariel, do you have anything? No? Anybody else? Prema.
One thing that I saw in connection with this topic that you're talking about is the verse in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Starts Atak Shri Krishna Namadi. And it says, therefore, I don't remember the verses before that, so I don't know what the therefore is about. But it says, material senses cannot appreciate Krishna's holy name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Material senses. So when a conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue, to chant the Lord's name and taste the remnants of his food, the tongue is purified, and then one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. So I was wondering if maybe you could explain a little bit about that, like material senses cannot perceive of Krishna's name and qualities and stuff, and how can taking prasadam and chanting bring us to that platform? What does that process look like?
So, these material senses conditioned, they, for instance, when we're in the temple and we're using our material eyes, we can see such a beautiful place, right? All these beautiful paintings, all these beautiful pastimes. But we only can go so far because of our conditioning. We're limited, right? But in this temple room, Krishna sees us. He sees us come. And he has the absolute, senses. the king of all senses. And so if we put ourselves in the position to be seen by Krishna through reading Srila Prabhupada's books, through coming to the temple, then we no longer have to rely on our material senses. We're relying on Krishna to purify our senses. And Krishna goes really deep. He goes really, really deep to the soul. And so the dust on our heart starts washing away, starts clearing, and then we can start to see with our eyes a little bit the veil. There's a curtain. The curtain starts to open slowly. It opens more and more and more with the situations, like Mother Kunti was saying, through these different experiences we have. And our heart, you'll start to feel your heart start to soften. And like when we were in Vrindavan, they say, don't just try to see Krishna, Vrindavan with your material eyes. Try to use your heart to understand that this is not an ordinary place. So we just put ourselves in the position for Krishna to purify us, to see us, to take his mercy through these different ways that the acharyas are giving us. Is that okay, or what do you think? Bye. Hare Krishna. Did I have something? Srila Prabhupada has given us this International Society for Krishna Consciousness so that we can go through this material world and actually find purpose of it, right? Srila Prabhupada explained so many times, right, that the materialists, they're trying to enjoy this material world, and it's nothing but zeros, right? It has no substance. It has nothing that is giving them anything of reality, the true reality. But in this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Srila Prabhupada has given us all these books, and he's given us association. And so when we continue with these books, and we continue to chant Hare Krishna, and we continue with this association, we start to put a 1 in front of all those zeros, and they become valuable. Just like a 0 can become 10, or 2 zeros can become 100, and then 15 zeros becomes I don't know. Look at Prema. She's right? And infinite zeros until we come into contact with Krishna and his pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. And we get some value in life. So, read Srimad Bhagavatam, read this nectar of instruction. 3 to 5 minutes each day you can read. First, you should read the whole book a few times. But the really nice thing is that when you read the book a few times, then when you read the translations, like take 3 to 5 minutes in the morning, just read. You start remembering the things that Srila Prabhupada says in the purport. Oh yeah, the mind. What's how do we purify the mind, or how do we use the mind? Anybody? What does Srila Prabhupada say? How to use the mind? It says, to always think of Krishna's lotus feet, right? What's that? Yeah, never forget. Krishna's like the light, and Maya is like the dark, right? And there you go. Yeah, and you read it, and in the second text we hear enthusiasm. You'll hear devotees use enthusiasm so many times in our ISKCON lingo, right? But how does Srila Prabhupada define enthusiasm in Nectar of Instruction? Endeavoring with intelligence. So he says that our confidence is, surely Krishna, you will give me the intelligence to how to move forward. And that's our enthusiasm, is to continue to move forward and continue to act with the understanding Krishna will surely help us. So the point being is that when you read these purport or these translations, you'll remember these things. You'll understand what Srila Prabhupada, and if you really want to trip, then Srila Prabhupada gives so many verses within Nectar of Instruction, and you can follow those verses, and then those verses, Srila Prabhupada in his purports gives us more verses, and then you can just go into the Srila Prabhupada universe of spirit, spiritual realization. Yeah, you can start to actually get a little understanding of Srila Prabhupada's way he thinks by going through his purports and then taking the verses that he gives and then reading those purports, and wow, yeah, it's pretty cool. Any other comments? We have 2 minutes. Questions, thoughts? Oh, there goes.
I had this conversation with Drishta a little bit ago, but just how the process that Prabhupada has given us is very organic, and obviously our acharyas, chanting, eating prasadam, those are the fundamentals, like clearly explained in Nectar's instruction and the verse earlier as well. Just eating prasadam and chanting the holy names, it's expanding your consciousness slowly by slowly, where eventually you yourself are transforming into a person that is naturally doing things that are Krishna conscious. Not that like I'm endeavoring so much and doing everything here and there and trying to become a Krishna conscious person, which is not sustainable. Because you're not really Krishna conscious, you're kind of just acting it. So you have to start with following the process little by little, and you yourself will actually become like the transformation, not just seeking to become temporarily somebody. And so the process, I mean, sometimes you think, what can I do for other people that are not even interested in who's God, and they're not asking these questions? Well, there's prasadam, isn't there? There's something that's building their consciousness up from where they are to the next level. Slowly, slowly, slowly. That's how Prabhupada got a lot of devotees back then. He's just giving prasadam, and sometimes that doesn't seem so effective. It's like, well, I just gave them some food and some prasadam, and I didn't see them again after a while. But Chaitanya Chandra actually made this point a long time ago. He said, sometimes when we give something to somebody spiritually or chant it a little bit with them and then we didn't see them, the problem is we are not omniscient, so we don't really see how that affects their daily life, how that affected them, got them some sukriti and gave them the chance to go to the next level. That's just because we can't see it, but that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. And so understanding that simple things like prasadam and chanting and reading with someone or helping them answer a question, these things make a big difference, because the only problem is we don't see it.
Thank you. In Boise, they built this temple, and the construction person, the architect, it was his first temple that he's ever built. And it was really out of his comfort zone in a sense. But he did this temple, and now he's known in Boise, in Idaho, for going and building temples or churches or, just this little touch of Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, and it can just expand like wildfire. I appreciate that point. Thank you. A little touch of prasadam. Mother Padma's brownies. Oh my gosh. What are they doing? What is Mother Padma's brownies doing for the whole world? I know what they do for me. Anyways, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Praminde Hari Hari Bo, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namah.